vertical feed, or do I have anybody over on the landscape view? I feel like the landscape view is never as popular as the vertical view. How do you go live? It just depends on what resources you have. If you're on a mobile device, you could go live just clicking on that. I believe it's like a big red plus button, little circular plus button on YouTube. Let's check. Oh, it's not red, but the little plus at the bottom of the feed there. Um, so if you click on that, you'll have an option that says go live. So you see there, you can go live straight from your mobile device if you would like to. Bill, what up? Terrible, stressed. I need a new job ASAP. You know, I feel you. I should probably be more stressed than I am in that regard. But I don't know. I don't know what it is. What do y'all call it when you're like so close to the edge that you're just like, fuck it. If not like in a like end it kind of way, but just more so in like whatever happens, I'll rebound from it. Like I'll figure it out. Like if shit hits the fan, I'm gonna figure it out one way or another. And even if it does hit the fan, I'm not even gonna trip about it. Like I'm just gonna be like, that's life, you know? I don't know. That's how it feels for me lately. What's up, Taylor? How's everything? Chloe. Yeah, gonna be working on my little Notion stuff today. Ironically, like I pulled it, like technically I worked on the template itself for some time, and I have one, or technically two versions of this Music OS template out, like the simple Music Dash and then the Music OS, and then I made like a Music OS Plus, and then I made on top of that a Music OS Plus Ultra, which is the version that I then took to make to revamp my own internal systems for the music. And I guess I just got to a point like the reason why I haven't released the Music OS Plus and the Music OS Plus Ultra is just because, Chloe, I'm sure you understand it's a love and hate relationship sometimes with Notion. And there are certain features that, as an ambassador and as a certified Notion consultant, I have a little bit of knowledge about that I had just been on the cusp of, man, like I would really like to have this additional feature for when I launch this template. And I do not like selling templates to people that I know they would then, like within a week or two or three or a month's time, they would have to re-download the template and migrate their data all over again just to accommodate that new feature. So I do kind of like the idea of future proofing the templates and the offerings that I have, but that's very, very challenging with Notion, just because of, there's always something new on the horizon with Notion, and it's always like just shy of what I feel like it could really be, like the version of Notion that I am hoping to get is always just out of reach. Today sucks. Track practice sucked. Oh man, rock bottom. Yeah, I like that attitude. Thank you, Bill. Yeah, no, I definitely feel you on that rock bottom thing. I was so for those that didn't know, I was creating like a brand new song every single day for the month of February. And like my setup is pretty nice here, don't get me wrong. Like I truly feel blessed. And I was able to pull some things together at the last minute. Um Yet the entire month of February, I had like $35 in my account. I kid you not. And like it, I had to like very, very fortunately, I had, somewhere else that I could pull money from that I absolutely didn't want to pull money from, but there it was an emergency. I was able to pull some money from there. I was able to pay rent and all of those kinds of things. But like, I absolutely don't want to have to do that again. But like, client projects and those kinds of things have been rather slow for me. But I'm just so convinced of like, I don't know. I don't even know if convinced is the right word. It's more so of just like, I truly want to succeed doing the things that I love doing and not falling victim to, um, just kind of doing like work for work's sake, or like taking a job just because there's money, right? Um, so Taylor, you mentioned track practice. Why did it suck? Was it challenging? Was it like, taxing on the body? What's going on? Chloe, you say you do the exact same thing. The struggle is real. What up, Ken? Why you feel attacked? Why do you feel attacked? I'm just talking. I'm talking about my own life. I'm talking about the challenges that, I face on the daily, and also just kind of speaking with Bill about, similar plights, and just having a willingness to thug it out, and just like weather the storms, and, having a bit of grace for oneself along the way. Ooh, Taylor, my condolences. Yeah, I absolutely understand that. I'm sorry to hear about, yeah, the, well, that's it's life. It's definitely challenging. I actually have a funeral to go to this Saturday as well, so I empathize with you greatly there. I'm not sure who passed on your side of things, but definitely sending my condolences to you. Yeah, but we're about to just play some music and work on some Notion related stuff. But y'all feel free to like tap in and talk to me or whatever. Definitely just here for that kind of vibe. Right now I'm popping open Notion, and yeah, just kind of all over the place with all of the things that I got here. So right now I don't know why I just did that with the camera, sorry. I thought I turned it the other way. That was hilarious. So yeah, like I'm working with this data inside of my Wildenfree team space here, all of these other team spaces. And so yeah, I have like my Wildenfree music section down here, which I just pulled directly from the dashboard. I should actually add a link to the dashboard there too, now that I'm thinking about it. Although it's not technically a database, this page is meant to house the databases. So I'm going to link it right there. And so this is basically what I decided to do, is to just always have a centralized space for my databases, but now I've started to separate them by team spaces. Prior to, I used to just have one large database HQ where it was like all of the databases in the entire workspace, and then I would do like these crazy elaborate breakdowns. Um, Yikes. With 400, 300, 200, 100 stair laps, that's intense. Y'all were really getting it. I can only imagine you are the muscle fibers is burning right now. That sounds like an intense track practice, but it sounds like they're trying to get y'all right. Do y'all have a competition coming up soon or anything? But yeah, so the so this music setup that I have here is based off of, well, I created it, but this is an enhancement off of the original Music OS that I did. And so I just added so many other databases. There's now like, I don't know, is this 15, 16 databases, something like that, um, that are a part of this particular setup, um, which could be beneficial for many, but I'm stress testing it now in my own environment to see, okay, what really makes the most sense to keep, what makes sense to, get rid of or change or adapt to a certain configuration. But really what I wanted to do, let's see, if someone messed up, we had to do it all over again until you got it right. And companion, or is it competition? Oh, competition tomorrow? Okay. That's to have such a rigorous training or practice the day before the competition is Godspeed. I don't know what to say about that one. That's a little rough. I would imagine that maybe that would be like a couple of days in advance at least, so y'all get proper rest. But what do I know? I don't know anything about track. But yeah. So basically, what I've been doing, I've been going through this. It sucks. Uh, I was hoping you somehow deep down really appreciated it. Is that true? Do you still appreciate it somehow, some way? I would hope you do. But yeah, so I completely reconfigured how my music records database lives and exists now alongside of my albums. And now Notion has these tab things, which are really awesome. Or pretty nice, you know. And so I've just been going back into each one of these projects and properly adding. I decided to add the lyrics directly to a property rather than being like content on the page itself, which is how I had it originally, as you can see here. And so, you know, prior to, I would just type out the lyrics in the page itself. But then if I ever needed to dive in and like copy all of the, lyrics and everything like that, I'd have to come in here, do this whole drag select thing, then copy it. But with the property, especially with the text property, you can just hit this little copy to clipboard icon and boom, now I have all of my lyrics. And that makes it super easy to just grab, the lyrics for for those who are in music or doing stuff pertaining to music and metadata management and all of that. Y'all know sometimes you have to upload your lyrics or whatever to a new platform. And so it's nice to just be able to like jump in here, grab that copy to clipboard, and also have a bunch of other metadata about your song in here. And so that's why I made this setup. Got a 4-day notice. I'm also sick, so I had to do track and go to the funeral and wedding. I'm doing quite. Sheesh, you are on a roll. Godspeed for real. That is quite a lot. Don't be flustered by it, though. You got this. You've absolutely got this. And y'all know what? I've been sitting here talking the whole time. I didn't even play my music. I'm supposed to play some music in the background so we can vibe alongside of the work. Yeah, my bad. So clearly I messed that up. For some reason, whenever I go full screen or open up mission control, OBS makes everything freeze up. Like it does not like mission control. So I am learning that lesson. Cat has the zoomies. No, I didn't open up Apple TV. So, okay. Well, and then it has the audacity to want to send me notifications. No. It's giving me the dead look. Why is she giving you the dead look? Dead look and zoomies. That's intense. So yeah. Now vibing to FF25. This is the music that I created over this past month, also known as February or Forever Flows 2025. And so, yeah, we're listening to the music that I am now organizing the metadata for inside of Notion. And so, yeah, utilizing the new layout builder, I've structured the records page just to have certain elements, in line of sight. The key and the BPM up top. We have different tabs for the content with the play length, song description, and the lyrics. And then also the producer, meta tags, and gear used, plugins used, and playlist submissions. And then in the side panel, the side details, there's the ISRC code, International Standards Recording Code, which is basically the unique identifier for your music whenever you submit it to a distribution company. That number stays the same regardless of whether it's on like Apple Music, Spotify, TIDAL, you name it. Release date, audio files, the moral of the song, whether it's done, and then you also have some of those tabbed properties over here, like the producers. And then we have a section for song info, album info, credits, production, distribution, system, and then like music tags and stuff. And so that just makes it really easy for me to kind of like go through and add in data and all of that. Favorite drink? Coconut water. Coconut water is my favorite drink. What is your favorite drink? She's giving you a dead look. It's where her eyes are wide open and she has the series because I gave her catnip. I heard catnip is like cocaine, not cocaine. Caffeine for them, excuse me. Yeah, and then I'm also managing this metadata inside of my untitled projects, and so that's a little bit of double the work a little bit. Oops, that's another project. That's an older project that I just gave y'all a glance of. But this, so organizing the music here inside of Untitled as well. Coconut water, Dr. Pepper, and Sprite. Nice. There's some heavy contrast in those options, but I can't be mad at it. All right, let's see. So then I haven't written out song descriptions for each one of these yet, but may or may not be necessary. Song descriptions are great if you have like a single or something that you're going to submit to a specific playlist, right? And so I've added that description here. So I might go in and just write descriptions for each and every one of these songs while we're sitting here, probably just because it's a focused thing to do, but I also want to make sure I'm going in and adding all the lyrics where they need to be, doing some line breaks and that kind of thing. Yeah. Too many siblings? How many siblings? The third. I love it that you really don't mind. This should be on one line. And the other reference God. Alright, let's see. Hallucinating of what I like. Token synthesize, hallucinating, everything. Okay. There we go. A nice little organized, and then I can honestly get rid of all of the page data. Some of this I'll just repopulate using the template. And so I could just click that new button and now it'll restructure it without that section, without the lyrics section. 10 brothers, 8 sisters, 1 sister-in-law, and do you know how many nieces and nephews I have? With 10 brothers and 8 sisters, I would imagine you have something like 30. It's gotta be an insane amount of nieces and nephews. Pile the papers up, this never could have been what I imagined. I'm dodging 9 to 5s like it added up to 12 living. I belong out in the field, frolicking, not firing on anybody, but my double caught a body with the fisticuffs. Never giving up each one of my life. I did it again. My bad, y'all. I did the thing where I'd like pop the screen open and then now my computer screen is basically frozen. And so I'm just going to give it a moment. I'm not sure why that happens. I think OBS has a bug that they themselves don't know about. I'll probably have to submit a bug report about that. Okay. That was more reasonable than I expected there, Taylor, but fair enough. Sorry, I forgot I didn't get the comments back on the screen. 11 nieces, 12 nephews. That's still a decent amount. That's a lot of birthdays. Probably got 2 birthdays a month if you're lucky. Hopefully. How nice it would be to have them all evenly spread out throughout the year rather than it just like imagine like 7 birthdays in like the span of 2 months. Use the same I know you want, put it on wax. We can run it back. Turn the 808s in the face and the running laps. A couple of them are twins. Oh wow, twins are pretty cool. My grandfather was a twin, but unfortunately his twin didn't make it. Alright, I'm looking for something. I did what I did for a reason. What was I looking for? Clean as a whistle. Always look official. I needed...
Wildenfree, forever flowing on the 6th.
You're listening for resonance, resilience at the cutting edge, a hope for what the future says.
A path for which to walk.
A ledge. You were just
Avoid a purpose for you to
not the twins being annoying. That's hilarious.
to drown out the noise, a tap of the tempo.
Let's see.
You
You got
temper, a rub of the temple.
that's what I was looking for. Okay, no.
Tension that quell all your questions.
Not annoying.
May have
If they're young,
you. If this tune makes you
how old are they?
bloom, you already hold the keys to make room.
Kids can be pretty annoying, but you know, don't hold it against them.
Turn nothing into something, turn darkness into rose gold. You broke the mold, you overcame all the trials of before. You're well equipped for what's on down the road. Now don't falter, go your own pace, run your own race, eat more water, steer your own lane, give yourself grace, send a ball praise, think less often. Now give yourself a round of applause. You sure have endured it all. As you'll
Oh,
continue
okay, yeah. I
to
wanted
believe
the.
in you, and you'll
Let's
believe
grab the
when you quiet your mind, you
links,
start to see it true as you bloom.
and I want to go back to. Here we go. We were on course correct. I gotta grab that link. Turn on the track link.
And that's it.
Oh yeah, 2
Wildenfree. Forever flowing.
terrible twos.
7.
They call them terrible twos for a reason.
Will set it off.
I ain't got nothing but to bet it all. Speak my mind, I done said it all. Still got more coming. I ain't got no frontin' in me, y'all. None left. I done went east, I done went west. I done sought peace, let it play ref. Get the chaos of the Euro step. Back to back, I'm back in it. Gravity just ends up winning. How's it so much fun sinning? Lord be more than my witness. Got the flow to repentance. I let it be all for my benefit. Set it right. But set it off. I ain't got nothing but to bet it all. I wonder if there's a way to. It's just the file itself. I should be uploading the file itself for each one of these tracks, but I'll get there. Right now, I'm just adding the link because I'm still working on the versions of each one of these tracks. I'm a twin. My twin is. You are also a twin. Okay, there's twins running your family pretty deep, huh? Carry my sight till I lay in her sin. She said my twin is the most annoying. Like, how dare they have your same face? Oh, nice. I don't think it's raining over here. I think it's pretty chill where I'm at, but actually, rain is on the forecast, but just a little bit later tonight. One. Imagine if you could pick your human, your style, color, eyes, and your ribs. One of multiple twins.
Would the world commence in the wars that divide if you could pick the language of life?
The twin gang.
For all time, would we finally put aside the belittling lies? Would we actually know the traits that save humankind?
Oh my goodness. When you say 10 degrees, do you mean Celsius? Like with the C or F? Fahrenheit. Ibrahim. I'm gonna just grab the links for each one of these songs and start adding them in. Free falling. All the socialites would love you, it's true. Your parents set you up with the best that they knew.
Yet it's different from your peers rocking extra set of ears. Some ended up with horns, just couldn't afford. Their class members poor because they do their own chores. Some scraped enough to buy a second set of arms for their child because hard work and labor is all they know. Now their children
Celsius, 10 degrees Celsius.
They try and put their limbs up for show. Get hired by the ones who
Yeah, it's a little chilly. That's cold.
The Janus and Jarvis could solve all their problems and harvest the crops. So the humans that are doing it too
are just biding their time to their usefulness through. This song, this should take me to Intention of Soul. Which track was that? That was Human Design. That was track 8. But I'm just speeding through the metadata. Now I'm on Wisdom of a Hypocrite. Wisdom of a Hypocrite. What up? Get out of here. What up, bruh? Don't be an asshole, man. Don't encourage the trolls on here to bandwagon off of your hatred. We're just on here kicking it today, bro. We are adding in metadata for FF25. So I was basically showing everybody the setup that I have inside of Notion to organize my music. So we have my Wildenfree music dash, and this is based off of a template that I have yet to officially release, but an enhanced version of that template. And so here you can see how I've organized my music over the years, or at least the last 4 or 5 years. I've backlogged some things, but we have projects that are in creation. We have released albums. We have albums in conception, or should have albums in conception. I think after I migrated the data over, it's not a... He said, I ain't even do nothing. One small step relieves your mind. Yeah, so we're just in the process of like organizing this data and getting all of this stuff baked in. I had completely had a older system for all of this stuff prior to, but now it's a lot more organized, as you can tell, which is nice. Well, you probably can't tell because you didn't know what the old one looked like, but now it's a lot more streamlined. I can see at a glance albums and have like a progress bar. So basically, if I go in here and say, okay, this song is done, we can start to make some legitimate progress, right? So if I mark these off, you can see progress goes up, which is nice. And yeah, now we're just going in and adding metadata because I have these rough drafts on Untitled, which is a really cool music app, which just makes it super easy to iterate on music and also share, iterations of music with people. You kind of know because I sent it in our group chat a little bit earlier, but yeah. This is the principal's office sucks. Nah, I feel that. Don't be in there for no reason. Try your best to stay out of there. I just removed the banners because I already did something great. But really, it's more like I just like to be able to see things a little more clear. Something minty with something called does not taste good. Type of cold. Type of cold. Hilarious. Oh, I see what you did there. That's actually clever. And then we gotta grab the link for this one. Chatting in this live stream of conscious. Do better. What'd you do? What got you sent? What got you sent to purgatory? No, you'll draw some better ones. I'm checking on Kick because... Okay, cool. Nothing happening here, but I am going to ban that spam. Allies in opposition. And I got to get the lyrics over there. You've gone. Tell us what have you done wrong. Another planet so far. This song was basically... It's a song about connections with friends and community. And like how I'm kind of like the gravity, my gravity is just different. Kind of like Pluto. I feel like my orbit is a little bit different from my communities and the connections that I have. So, yeah. It's like feeling close but being far. That whole kind of thing. Because someone called me a monkey and I called them a monkey back. And I also called them a donkey. Crazy. That happens sometimes. Stand your ground. I ain't mad at you. Hoping we still get along. Let's see. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Dynasty, Wildenfree, Wolfen.
All right, drop the lyrics in here. Got the link, and I actually need to go back and grab the key for these songs, the key and the BPM.
Wildenfree, forever flowing the 13th. Let's go.
You don't really need the skills just to show up.
Only in the process do you glow up. Excuse to
Thursday
hold up yourself. Can't keep
after
fearing to fail.
9.
Wanna sell something about yourself, just don't sell yourself short. You develop in the course of experience. Yeah, be a student to life.
Anybody here watch? I'm talking about Severance with my line brothers. That show is crazy. 2 weeks detention. Crazy. 2 weeks detention is egregious. Yo, what up, Chloe? Yeah, like connected at a distance. Like in a way where it's like I don't know, like there's a specific word for it. But there's also a meme for it that always resonates with me. It's the little meme with the otter behind the plexiglass. Hence the title of that song, right? Like, so here's the lyrics for plexiglass. I'll go back to it so you can basically see what I'm saying. But in the lyrics, if you let's zoom in here for a second, you'll see down here. I say otter opposite the plexi, steady extending the palm, hoping we still get along. So feeling very close to people, but still there's like this barrier, boundary, you know, that kind of separates me, that keeps me a bit distant from certain connections. Like it's a peculiar feeling, and it's not one that I do intentionally. It's just kind of like by my nature. I try so hard to connect. So you hear it. I'll run it back so you can. I'll let y'all read it while we're going through the lyrics. Can y'all see that?
Those eyes light up so quick, yet that same light fades too quickly. Hey Sean, we're off so swiftly, you've gone. Tell us, what have we done wrong? Not a thing, I'm just on another planet so far. I slipped off gravity, lost, and swimming back to the actually at the distance so long that by the time I reach there may be nothing left of we. And that is such a tragedy, cause I really rock with y'all, heard? Though I fly off like a bird, I'm migratory, absurd, cause physically I'm still here. Just mentally I'm dispersed. I try so hard to connect, yet love my space, no regrets. This atmosphere
Thank you, Chloe.
is so clear, though you're so far I feel near. With a parable of paradoxes, filling up boxes, yearning to move. Respite of the dolo, the peppermint soothe, the steeper the herbal to bring on the peace. The deepest I breathe, the center the steam provides a release and anchors a tether, keeping me as close as I can be. Outer opposite the plexi, steady extending the palm, hoping we still get along.
Yeah. So that's plexiglass. It's like a super chill, low-key song that's like, you know, it's probably not going to be anybody's like favorite, but it's like a very vulnerable, transparent reflection on how I feel about like connections and friendships and community and all of that stuff. Because it's like, man, like, hey, Sean, we're off so swiftly, you've gone. And I'm like, you know, I'm still here, but like I'm just on another planet, you know, trying my best to still be here, trying my best to hang around. Excuse to hold up yourself. Can't keep fearing to fail, but you want to fail. Something about it. Just to say yourself short. Yeah, be a student to life, but don't sit here all night. That's a great question, Chloe. We the sauce. What up, bro? Peace and blessings. We over here kicking it. I am basically building out or adding in the metadata for FF25 into my Notion setup. And so just kind of sharing that process with you all. But yeah, Chloe, I would love to add it to Spotify, but I've done that. Just got out of a job meeting in a good way. Hopefully it was a good meeting, Taylor. I would like to add it to Spotify. I have been thinking about my release strategy, and also I want to give the community an opportunity to weigh in. Like I really want to start just putting out snippets of these verses and, dripping the content out there just to kind of get some feedback and awareness from the masses on like what songs they gravitate to, which would allow me to, I guess, get a bit more awareness on which songs would probably do well as a single, to lead up to the release of like an official project or album, because it really does take a certain level of momentum to really make a album release meaningful. Unless you're a huge superstar like Beyonce, right? That can drop like a album in the blink of an eye with no previous announcement or expectations around it, right? And it do crazy numbers, right? She has a whole machine behind her. As an independent music artist, there's a lot of work that I have to do to really shape this project and all of the music that I've released to ensure that it has the best chance of, getting somewhere. It was a funny meeting. The amount of money I make is crazy, in a good or bad way.
Wildenfree, forever flowing the 15. Say because on the beat was way too focused on whether I could and not whether I wanted to. Living in an age of visionaries, but my vision calcified by all this.
What, bruh? My line brother is so stupid. Oh, thank you, Chloe. I appreciate that. I will make sure that there's some more goodies en route to be added to Spotify. Let's say that. But I will. Sorry. See, look, there go the screen drip, acting crazy again. Thank you, Taylor. I appreciate that. Y'all want to hear the potential single that I was thinking to release next? It was called "Endless Seams" and it was produced by Sean. It's a producer name also by the name of Sean, but he's known as Sean Local Crew. And I found him on Instagram, and he just had this crazy chop. I was like, man, this sounds amazing. And I just found myself writing a verse to it, and I just kind of spit it on Instagram for like content, and it just stuck with me. And I was just like, oh my God, it's so good. It was like so good. And I actually don't even know if I put that metadata into this system just yet either. So I'll add that metadata in here somewhere and then also let y'all see the lyrics. But this one's also kind of lyrically dense. I think y'all will really enjoy it. But it's called Endless Seams. So I'll play it for y'all real quick, all right?
Took me all this time to make my mind up. Still ain't made my mind in its completion. It's an endless theme of dreams and patternings of different reams and chapters. I skipped season passes, seen the masters. Still searching for what I should master. I dipped and dabbled, smoked the dab and licked the tap. Got rid of that to walk a different path. I never said I was infallible. I stepped the lateral, then climbed the ladder up. The ladder which had switched the scenes to what I bring to thee and lucid verses. A universe of multitudes contained within it. All my lyrics be the language model. A train of thought that trains the bots to be prolific if they ever come across it in this algorithmic distance. Shouting to the void for a quantum leap assistance. Trying to sell myself to save my soul. It ain't no difference. Thank you for the listen. I'm just here to wish you well.
Appreciate it, that we just saw.
And share with you my thoughts here.
Oh, this wasn't a part of FF25.
My mind up, still ain't made my mind in its completion. It's an endless.
This predates FF25. I'm showing y'all the lyrics right here real quick. I'm gonna run it back, and then we can talk about it.
Time to make my mind up, still ain't made my mind in its completion. It's an endless theme of dreams and patternings of different reams and chapters. I skipped season passes, seen the masters. Still searching for what I should master. I dipped and dabbled, smoked the dab and licked the tap. Got rid of that to walk a different path. I never said I was infallible. I stepped the lateral, then climbed the ladder up. The ladder which switched the scenes to what I bring to thee and lucid verses. A universe of multitudes contained within it. All my lyrics be the language model. A train of thought that trains the bots to be prolific if they ever come across it in this algorithmic distance. Shouting to the void for a quantum leap assistance. Trying to sell myself to save my soul. It ain't no difference. difference. Thank you for the listen. I'm just here to wish you well and share with you my thoughts. Here's what I got, and honestly, it took me all this time to make my mind up. Still ain't made my mind in its completion. It's an endless seam of dreams and patternings of different reams and chapters. I skipped season passes, seen the masters, still searching for what I should wait. Seen the masters, skip the season passes, reams and chapters. It's an endless seam of dreams. My mind ain't made to be complete, and honestly, I wish you well, cause you're listening to me, and I ain't trying to sell my soul. Just enjoy the quantum leap across this algorithmic distance. Prolific, the train of thought of language models within it. Lucid while I'm up in it, the multitudes of universes switch the scenes in tune to me like I remain. Shouting to the void on a different path, somewhere where time is on a different tab. Simple math. It is me that I shall master, crafting all these verses, chiseling my soul to shape myself on an endless seam of dreams turned into purpose. Infinite, recursive, shape-shifting the surface of irrelevance. A kingdom of intelligence, pixelated melanin modeling excellence. That hex code just to stylize my avatar ain't blue in eyes, though they cute despite our differences. Anyway, off the irrelevance, still folding pros like AlphaFold, house and home.
I don't know.
I'm still here like the couch is foam. In this bit like I found a loan. I'm a mortgage, I mean memorialized.
Average
I'm
salary.
fortified. Lord of mine, a simulation of good graces you're shaping. Mathematical equations, thick thighs and relations, tectonics and taste and fruits of patience I've been cultivating. Swear I took a minute, and the levels I've matured to veer from sinning. Shouting to the globe that my art and presence surely worth persisting, when I just need to tell myself to listen.
Nice.
Well,
All right, hold on. I gotta run that one actually for y'all now. Now that I did all that, I'm like, okay, yeah, now I just want to spit this one. I ain't gonna lie to you, and get rid of all this junk that got added to there. Okay. All right, let's see if I remember this one off the top, which I should by now. Let me find the actual instrumental for this real quick, and I should actually add that too. But yeah, no, that song is crazy. Like, it just came together so naturally, and honestly, it was the song that it made me want to do FF25. It made me want to do Forever Flows 2025, and it was the baseline for what I wanted to achieve with FF25. It was like, hey, like I wrote such a fire verse with this one, and I want to achieve the feeling that I got from writing this somewhere throughout the month of February, which I was able to achieve, by the way. There are absolutely some verses that I just love that I was able to deliver during Forever Flows 2025. Yet this one just still holds a special place in my heart. I ain't gonna lie. It's just hiding out in the treasure chest. Yeah. All right, hold on real quick. I'm finna spit this one for y'all real quick if I can. Can I do that for y'all? Just to get it out of my system. I'm itching for it now. Let's see if I remember it. and then if y'all want, I could do a lyrical breakdown because this one is dense and it's like there's so many treasures in this one, you know? All right, let's see. Took me all this time to make my mind up. Wait, that's the. Took me all this. I need that instrumental. Hold on. There it goes. That's what I want. All right, ready? Took me all this time to make my mind up. Still ain't made my mind in its completion. It's an endless seam of dreams and patternings of different reams and chapters. I skipped through the season passes, seen the masters, still searching for what I should master. I dipped and dabbled, smoked a dab and licked the tab. Got rid of that to walk a different path. I never said I was infallible. I stepped the lateral, then climbed the ladder up. The ladder which had switched the scenes to what I bring to thee in lucid verses. A universe of multitudes contained within it. All my lyrics be the language
language model, a train of thought that trains the bots to be prolific if they ever come across it in this algorithmic distance, shouting to the void for quantum leap assistance, trying to sell myself to save my soul, it ain't no difference. Thank you for the listen, I'm just here to wish you well and share with you my thoughts. Here's what I got, and honestly it took me all this time to make my mind up. Still ain't made my mind in its completion. It's an endless seam of dreams and patternings of different reams and chapters. I skipped the season passes, seen the masters, still searching for what I should wait. Seen the masters, skip the season passes, reams and chapters. It's an endless seam of dreams, my mind ain't made to be complete. And honestly, I wish you well, cause you're listening to me. And I ain't trying to sell my soul, just enjoy the quantum leap across this algorithmic distance. Prolific, the train of thought of language models within it. Lucid while I'm up in it, the multitudes of universes switch the scenes and tune to me like I remain. Shouting to the void on a different path, somewhere where time is on a different tab. Simple math. It is me that I shall master, crafting all these verses, chiseling my soul to shape myself on an endless seam of dreams turned into purpose. Infinite, recursive, shape-shifting the surface of irrelevance, a kingdom of intelligence, pixelated melanin modeling excellence. That hex code just to stylize my avatar ain't blue and eyes, though they cute despite our differences. Anyway, off the irrelevance, still folding pros like AlphaFold, house and home. I'm still here like the couch is bone. In this bit like I found the loan, I'm a mortgage, I me memorialized. Cutting stone, dug the foundation, I'm fortified. Lord of mine, a simulation of good graces you're shaping. Mathematical equations, thick thighs and relations, tectonics and tasting, fruits of patience I've been cultivating. Swear I took a minute, and the levels I've matured to veer from sinning. Shouting to the globe that my art and presence surely worth persisting, when I just need to tell myself to listen. Well, can't believe it. Nah, that mess is crazy. Oh man, I love that song. I love that verse so much. The beat was just exactly what I needed at the moment when I wrote it. Oh man, I'm glad I was able to get that verse off too. So that is Endless Seams of Dreams. And yeah, let's talk about those lyrics for a bit here, because as I mentioned, they're a little fascinating. Alright. This looks all kind of crazy, so here we go. So right at the beginning, I'm gonna pause the music just so that it's not confusing us or anything as we go through it. But from the top, took me all this time to make my mind up, still ain't made my mind in its completion. It's an endless seam of dreams and patternings of different reams and chapters. Pretty straightforward, right? It's an endless seam of dreams and patternings of different reams and chapters. And then I go on to say I skipped with season passes, seen the masters, still searching for what I should master. And so this part, I skipped with season passes, seen the masters. I was actually referring to when I was in high school. I actually had I was part of the yearbook class, and I would get hall passes to do whatever, right? And then even when I was off in college, there were times where I would skip class, right? But then be talking to rather astute intellectuals or just people who were really profound, and just me having curiosities about what it was that others were studying and what professors were learning and doing. And so that's where that kind of line comes in, right? I skipped with season passes, seen the masters, still searching for what I should master. And that line is relevant because when I was in college, I had originally went for graphic design, but they dissolved my program into studio art. And when they did it, they said that I didn't have to choose a specific focus area, which is what they would require for anyone else joining the program after my class. But for our class in particular, they were like, well, since we kind of made this change while you all were entering into the program,
we're not going to require you all to choose a focus area. Naturally, some still did, but I did not. And so I just ended up doing a myriad of things while in college, um, and got my bachelor's, but, never really pursued a specific focus, nor did I go off to pursue a master. And so when I say still searching for what I should master, it's that kind of aspect of consideration here as well, not just in the academic space, but just in life in general. But this is what I'm choosing to master, right? The lyricism and showing up in this way. So in a way, it's like reflecting on itself, like still searching for what I should master. And in the process of saying that, I am living what I am choosing to master. And then I say I dipped and dabbled, smoked the dab and licked the tab, got rid of that to walk a different path. I never said I wasn't fallible. Yeah, I've done the drugs before, so I am not infallible, right? Like, yeah, I've smoked. I've actually done, right, that 3-letter one that starts with an L, which you put on your tongue. And yeah, I got rid of that to walk a different path, right? Like I decided that okay, I had the experience, well and good enough, right? Like I've learned from this experience and it was fascinating enough to have explored for a time, but I'm growing from here and I am choosing a different path. And so that's where that line comes in. I dibbed and dabbled, smoked the dab and licked the tab, got rid of that to walk a different path. I never said I was infallible. And then I go on to say I stepped the lateral, right? So like in this case, right? Like I stepped laterally, right? Away from a given path. I stepped laterally away from that path and then climbed a ladder up, right? The ladder which had switched the scenes to what I bring to thee in lucid verses. So the ladder which, right? So I stepped the lateral, then climbed the ladder up. The ladder which is me climbing that ladder up. And that is what had switched the scenes to allow me to bring what I now bring to you all in these very lucid verses, right? So the clarity that you all are hearing from me in these verses comes from me making that decision to sidestep that lateral step, right? Away from where I was previously in my life, where I was choosing to do those things, sidestepping all of that and choosing a different ladder to climb up. And so that's where those bars come from. And then I go on to say, a universe of multitudes contained within it. All my lyrics be the language model. And I was floored at myself when I wrote that bar. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Yeah, a universe of multitudes contained within it, referencing my verses, right? And so there is a universe of multitudes contained within these lucid verses that I provide to you. And all my lyrics be the language model, right? Referencing LLMs, right? So instead of it being large language models, it is my lyrics language model, right? And a train of thought that trains the bots to be prolific. As some of you all may know, LLMs and machine learning and AI, right? Like it is a process of humans training robots or computers to learn, right? Machine learning. And LLMs are one representation of that, right? There are other models that exist, but this is the one that I was referencing in this case, right? And the allusion is to the lyrical language model that I am now expanding on through this verse, right? And then I say, so a train of thought that trains the bots to be prolific. So through my lyrics, I am training the AI to become even more prolific than it already was or once was, right? Like it is through the lucid verses that contain a universe of multitudes that I am enabling the training of AI, of bots to be prolific if they ever come across it in this algorithmic distance, right? And so what I am expressing there is the challenges with being identified or having the awareness and attention on what it is that I am doing as a music artist and as a lyricist in this algorithmically driven, world that we're in, right? Like it's very sometimes challenging to kind of break through that surface tension of social media awareness, of the popular zeitgeist or whatever it is, right? For me, this was a bit of that expression of just kind of identifying that challenge and also venting about it a little bit in a way, right? Yeah, like if they ever come across it in this algorithmic distance, feeling a bit fed up with the whole algorithms shifting on us and changing and like kind of making us dance to the tune of their drum just for us to be seen in the way that we want to see, what we want to be seen for our art and our artistry and the way that we want to connect with our community. And so that's what I was expressing here, right? All my lyrics be the language model, a train of thought that trains the bots to be prolific if they ever come across it in this algorithmic distance. And then I go on to say, shouting to the void for quantum leap assistance, right? So basically, every time that I post my content, basically every time that I show up here, even in this capacity during these live streams, it's an opportunity for me to shout into the void, right? Looking for that quantum leap assistance, right? That quantum connection, um, and that aspect of there being this resonance that exists between myself and some other quantumly entangled particle or human beings on the other side of this screen that hear what I am saying and resonate with it so deeply that they are able to enter into this picture and assist in me bringing this art to fruition, right? Which is why I then go on to say, trying to sell myself to save my soul, it ain't no difference, right? And what I mean by that is I could also say, trying to save myself to sell my soul, right? Which is also, it's both are controversial in a way, but the latter which the it ain't no difference flipping that, right? Vice versa kind of has a heavier connotation on it, right? Because it really was a reflection of me thinking like, well, what is the difference between me trying to save myself just to sell my soul to, whatever, like to make it in this game, right? Or me trying to sell myself to save my soul, right? So it was just that reflection on the common uh tropes that people explore when it comes to music industry and making it big and all of those things. Often they say, "Oh, you got to sell your soul to get to the top of all of this stuff," and I'm just like, I never quite looked at it that way for myself, and I never quite wanted that to be the thing, and I always tried to flip that narrative in some way, shape, form, or fashion. But this was just like a very cogent, sobering, almost nihilistic way of like coming to terms with the reality of the situation, where it's like in some way, shape, form, or fashion, you always end up selling yourself in some capacity, right? Like whether it is to an entity, whether it's to a conglomerate or a corporate entity that then milks you dry for everything you own, or me in the path that I am choosing, aiming to willingly sell myself to my own artistry and to my own community, right? And to service those in hopes of saving my own soul, right? In hopes of doing what I feel is at the highest soul resonance for me. And so that's what that bar really stood for. And then I go on to say, thank you for the listen. I'm just here to wish you well. And for those that know, y'all will know this well, right? Like a lot of my music is about expressing gratitude, of reminding you all of grace for yourself, of reminding you about the gratitude you can have in this life and, referencing that perspective of abundance. And so, yeah, thank you for the listen. I'm just here to wish you well and share with you my thoughts. Here's what I got, and honestly, it. And then I go right back into that top phrasing. Took me all this time to make my mind up, right? Now, here's where it gets really fun, right? Because after I go through this part where I repeat it, I say, it took me all this time to make my mind up, still ain't made my mind in its completion. It's an endless seam of dreams and patternings of different reams and chapters. I skipped with season passes, seen the masters, still searching for what I should. Wait, seen the masters? Skip with season passes, reams and chapters? So if you notice the three lines just before that, right? Notice the mirror pattern right here. Still searching for what I wait. Seen the masters is the line directly before it and directly after it. And then if you go an additional line up or down, you'll see season passes, reams and chapters, right? So what I end up doing in the second half of this song is I reflect on the lyrics from the first half of this song, right? And I do so in a mirror image. So effectively, I traverse the same verse, technically, just opposite, right? And so I go through it to say, skipped with season passes, reams and chapters. It's an endless seam of dreams. My mind ain't made to be complete, right? If I scroll back up here, still ain't made my mind in its completion. My mind ain't made to be complete, right? And honestly, I wish you well, right? If I scroll back up, I'm just here to wish you well, So I keep doing that pattern where I'm reflecting on that verse and mirroring all of the same word choices and the lyrics. And this is a way that I decided to sew in repetition, yet while also giving me an opportunity to inverse the pattern of what I was saying and the message of what I was saying, while also still heavily playing into the theme of the song, which is endless seams, right? And so by mirroring this part of the verse and then having it play directly after, the whole point of this song is to be made so that you can play it from top to bottom. And if you let it play on repeat, like it will feel like an endless seam. And so that's why this song is called that. And that's why this verse is written in this way. Um, you could say these verses, because I feel like this was a lot more than just like a 16 or 32 or whatever. Um, but yeah, this is just how I was exploring it. So yeah, I go on to say, it's an endless seam of dreams. My mind ain't made to be complete. And honestly, I wish you well, cause you're listening to me. And I ain't trying to sell my soul. Just enjoy the quantum leap across this algorithmic distance. Prolific. The train of thought of language models within it. Lucid while I'm up in it. Again, a callback to those previous lines. And I really love the reframe on this portion because it allowed me to go back and really double down on that line, right? And say, I'm not trying to sell my soul, right? I just enjoy the quantum leap across this algorithmic distance. I like closing the gap between you and I as community and as artists and as those who could appreciate lyricism in verses like this. I like the idea of closing that gap, right? I enjoy the quantum leap across this algorithmic distance. And prolific, the train of thought of language models within it, right? So the train of thought is prolific and the language models within it, contained within that train of thought, right? The train of thought of language models within it. Or vice versa, right? The train of thought contained within the language models. And then I go on to say lucid while I'm up in it, right? In this process, in that flow state. The multitudes of universes switch the scenes and tune to me like I remain. Now, here's where it gets fun, and this is a very, very subtle nod that not many would catch, right? But The multitude of universes switched the scenes and tuned to me like I remain. If y'all are still watching, I want y'all to chime in right now and tell me what you think that means or what I'm referring to. And I'll give y'all a couple of seconds. If you're not here, that's fine. I'll weigh in a second and let y'all know. But I'm very curious to know if anybody picked up on that line in particular. Where is it at? Right here. Go away, little bar. So yeah, if anybody picked up on this line, I would love to hear that because this was yeah, I felt good about this one. All right, I'll tell in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so basically what I was doing with this part, the multitude of universes switched the scenes and tuned to me like I remain. Everyone knows the Marvel Cinematic Universe and how they had like the multiverse of madness and also like the whole Loki thing. Well, if you've seen the Loki show, right, the series on Disney Plus, you would know that they met a version of Kang that sits at the edge of time, basically, right? Which was basically this void, right? And he referred to himself as he who remains. And so here I write the multitudes of universes switched the scenes and tuned to me like I remain, right? So it's kind of like a play on multiple factors, right? Switched the scenes, a direct call to it being a TV series or a film, the multitude of universes, right? Harking back to the original point in this verse where I kind of brought that up. But then, wait, no, they switched the scenes and tuned to me like I remain, like I'm the last one left. And so I thought that that was like a really fun callback and a reference to it, but albeit very, 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 very subtle and may or may not easily be picked up by many who aren't really tapped in to the Marvel cinematic universe like that, or without me just like directly stating like he who remains, right? But yeah, so that's where that part comes from. Then I continue on to say, shouting to the void on a different path, somewhere where time is on a different tab. Again, another callback to that experience, especially within Loki, where they are traveling through time, right? So shouting to the void on a different path, somewhere where time is on a different tab. So yeah, another nod to that. Simple math, it is me that I shall master. And I just loved that so much. That was just like me, like going back to that part, remember, where I was saying like, oh, like I skipped with season passes, seen the masters, still searching for what I should master. But when I come back to it in this reflection, simple math, it is me that I shall master. Like that was such a prolific and like transcendent moment with me writing it, and every time I spit this verse, that like me saying this part of the verse, like just it raises hairs, it just like lifts me to another vibration that yeah, I can't tell you how much this one line means to me and how it just like it was an incredible um I don't know, just like a flow, like a true download. It felt like a download from my highest self. Even as simple as it sounds, it's just it's one thing to just say the line on its own, but it's a different thing to take it for all that it is within the context of the song. And I think that's what really made it special to me. And then, of course, I go on to say, like, what I'm doing, crafting all these verses, chiseling my soul to shape myself on an endless seam of dreams turned into purpose. Like, this is not just a dream, it's turning into purpose. and it's infinite and recursive. It never ends. Shape shifting the surface of irrelevance, meaning I'm taking what seems to be irrelevant and turning it into something of purpose, right? And then I go on to say a kingdom of intelligence, pixelated melanin, modeling excellence. And this is actually just a nod to my boy Weston. Shout out to Weston, OG, League, homie. Um, he had two brands prior to his current clothing brand. The first one was called A Kingdom of Intelligence, and the second one was called Pixel, PXL. And so this was just kind of an ode to the homie, just to say, like, yeah, A Kingdom of Intelligence, pixelated melanin, modeling excellence. And that just kind of goes back into like the whole modeling thing. And then I say that hex code just to stylize, right? The hex code of melanin, right? Saying that hex code is just to stylize. And what I mean by that bar is like, this is just a stylistic thing in the grand scheme of things. As much as we like to be divisive about our skin tones and all of those things, it was just an aesthetic. And I will absolutely say, yes, it's deeper than just an aesthetic thing. For those that really want to dive down the rabbit hole, there are some qualities to the nature of melanin that make it so much more than just a stylization, right? Nevertheless, as it pertains to the relationship dynamics between human beings, it's a hex code. It's a stylization, right? And it should not be as divisive as it is. And that's what I was getting at with just that one bar, right? That hex code just to stylize. And then I say my avatar ain't blue in eyes, though they cute despite our differences. This is me acknowledging, like, yeah, like we have different features, right? And yours are cute despite the differences, right? But like I'm still me and I'm still loving everything about me too, right? But like I can also appreciate what y'all got going on. Anybody else, right? And so that's where those lines were coming from, right? Like, yeah, my avatar ain't blue in eyes, though they're cute despite our differences. And I say anyway off the irrelevance, right? Because I was actually referencing the irrelevance here, right? Shape shifting the surface of irrelevance, right? And I say anyway off the irrelevance, still folding prose like AlphaFold. For those that do or do not know, AlphaFold is actually it's like a genetic manipulation device. Like they're using it to fold proteins, and that's why I say folding prose like AlphaFold. In this context, I mean I'm folding pros, professional hip hoppers or whoever it is, right? Like I do this shit, right? But I'm making that allusion to AlphaFold, which is a protein folding device, right? Which allows them to manipulate and create and shift the structure and purpose of proteins. So again, that's another aspect or an opportunity for me to do what I do best lyrically, which is to inject technical jargon and make it digestible, somewhat entertaining, and easily receptible by people who may or may not have ever dove down those rabbit holes or ventured into those domains, right? And so that was just me bringing in a little bit of that technologist to kind of talk about some of those things that I'm on the surface level of, right? Like I'm a dilettante of these things, but I find them fascinating. And I think that information in the right hands could go a long way, right? And who knows, somebody might just be like, what's AlphaFold? And they go search it up and it changes the whole trajectory of their career, right? Like maybe they were like a hair's breadth away from, being in that field and they just needed some kind of impetus or inclination to lean into researching this thing or that thing or whatever it is, So that's why I like to throw these kind of Easter eggs into my lyrics. So yeah, then I go on to say, anyway, off the irrelevance, still folding pros like AlphaFold, house and home. I'm still here like the couch is foam. This is just bragging at this point. This is just like me having fun with this verse. And you could feel it in the change of the delivery when I get to this part, right? And so still folding pros like AlphaFold, house and home. And I got to house and home, not just from the rhyme scheme, but like thinking about folding like folding clothes, house and home, like chores and that kind of thing. So I shifted from the folding to house and home. And then I say, I'm still here like the couch is foam. And for anybody that knows, sometimes there's couches that be in the house that, they've been there for a good little minute. You could see the divots in the seat from how long people have been sitting in that same spot. And I'm still here like the couch is foam. Like I've been in here. Like I've been doing this. And I also say in this bit, like I found the loan. So not only am I in this house, like the couch is foam, I'm damn near in here, like I found the loan for this house, right? And then I go on and say I'm a mortgage, I mean memorialized, right? Um, Playing off the loan and the home and the mortgage, but then leading into what I actually mean to say, which is like, no, 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 I'm memorialized. I've been here, I've done this, I'm doing this, and I will continue to do this, and I'm memorialized in how I'm showing up, right? Cut in stone, dug the foundation, I'm fortified, right? So now getting into the masonry of building a home and all of that, right? Like doing the work to like dig the foundation and being fortified with the strength of the material that I am cut from, right? So that's all baked into that part of the verse. And then I say, Lord, am I in a simulation of good graces you're shaping? Oh man, this was another one of those bars that just resonated so deeply for me because it was like, yeah, like it's let me scroll back to that. It's it's such a confluence of unique perspectives all rolled into one, right? Like it's the spiritual, it's the esoteric, it's the religious, it's the technologist, and it's all of these facets of myself, like speaking in a very vulnerable way and like presenting a concept or thought or idea to the Most High, right? To be like, Lord, am I in a simulation of good graces that you're shaping, right? Like, because I feel very blessed. I feel very fortunate. I feel like, I'm empowered by the gratitude and the abundance and the graces that I've been blessed with throughout my life, right? And at the same time, there are aspects of this reality that do feel like a simulation. There are aspects of the things that we uncover that challenge our understanding of this reality, right? And so that's what I was really reflecting on here and kind of bringing that confluence into this kind of unified uh, throughput, right? Like this question, this exploration, and this opportunity of direct connection with that, with the Most High, with God, and so that's where that line is coming from. Like, Lord, am I in a simulation of good graces that you're shaping, right? Then I go on to say mathematic equations, right? A lot of people say math is the language of God. For those that know, like there's a lot of mathematics behind the structure of our nature, right? And so I'm bringing that into that unified perspective, right? This multifaceted, unified perspective that I was just referencing. And then I say thick thighs and relations, right? Thinking about the yin and yang, right? The duality of man and woman and love and lust and the things that draw us to this corporal experience, right? Thick thighs and relations, tectonics and tasting fruits of patience, right? So tectonics as in the earth itself, right? Tasting fruits of patience, right? And this was another perspective for me. Like I was actually thinking about like, you know, the Garden of Eden, right? And thinking about, well, what other fruits might have existed on those many trees that existed in the Garden of Eden that they could have absolutely been partaking in. But that one, the tree of knowledge, right, was the one absolutely not to take a bite out of that apple, right? But there could have absolutely been other fruits that were well and good to partake in. And so here I'm kind of exploring that concept or idea of like um, the heavenly earth connection that Garden of Eden, the tasting fruits of patience, right? And cultivating that, right? Like tectonics and tasting fruits of patience I've been cultivating, right? So thinking about the work that is done to cultivate and nurture what would then grow to be this fruit of patience that I am consuming, right? Like I am doing the work while also benefiting from the consumption of this fruit of patience because I keep showing up somehow, some way. Sometimes I get deterred, but then I bounce back. Sometimes I feel like I don't want to show up, but then I do, right? And so that's what I'm speaking to here in regards to this, right? That earthly corporal experience as well as that heavenly earth connection, the many fruits that they likely had in the Garden of Eden, and then also thinking about the patience that I have cultivated and how that is a divine blessing more than anything else, right? Or, however you all want to perceive that. But that's how I was perceiving it in this moment and in this part of the verse. And then I say, yeah, tectonics and tasting fruits of patience I've been cultivating. Swear I took a minute in the levels I've matured to veer from sinning. Like it took me a minute to get to this point. It took me a minute to nurture and cultivate what would become those fruits of patience, right? So it's just a recognition that, yeah, this thing does not happen overnight and it wasn't as clear as it now is, right? The fruit wasn't ripe yet. The nature of my patience waxed and waned over the years, right? And it still does, right? But it gets closer and closer to form with every passing day, right? When I think about, you know, what I'm cultivating, not just the fruit of patience, but also becoming myself. It is me that I shall master, crafting all these verses, chiseling my soul to shape myself on an endless seam of dreams turned into purpose, right? Like it took a minute. Swear it took a minute. And the levels I've matured to veer from sinning. And I was very specific about saying veer from sinning because, yeah, I'm still doing my due diligence to steer clear of what would be known as sinning, right? It's not easy and it's absolutely something that I still fall victim to, right? Um, but there is the levels that I have matured to veer from certain sins or certain things that I know do not serve me, right? There are things that I've turned away from, right? And this is actually very much a callback to this part of the verse. I dibbed and dabbed and smoked the dab. I dibbed and dabbled, smoked the dab and licked the tab, got rid of that to walk a different path. I never said I was infallible. I stepped the lateral, then climbed the ladder up, the ladder which had switched the scenes to what I bring to thee in lucid verses, right? Got rid of that to walk a different path, right? So I got rid of smoking a dab and licking a tab, things that others could refer to or reference as sins, right? The levels I've matured to veer from sinning. So it's those things that I'm referencing there in that bar in this mirrored image of this verse. And then I close it out by saying, shouting to the globe that my art and presence is surely worth persisting when I just need to tell myself to listen. Well, can't believe it took me all this time to make my mind up. This is like, and honestly, like I have had this little like seed inspired and planted in me over the years. And, it's no secret that Kendrick Lamar has been a big inspiration of mine. Um, for those that know, I do have headphones that he signed back in the day, right? So these are some Beats headphones that Kendrick Lamar signed uh, back in 2012, and he handed them to me. These were supposed to be um, a gift to. It was like a raffle, right? Where it was like, uh, it was at the Moon, 2012 in Tallahassee, and DJ Demp was DJing. He's like, "Yo, whoever buys uh TDE paraphernalia, you all will get one lucky winner will win a raffle. Y'all will be entered into a raffle to receive a free pair of Beats headphones signed by Kendrick Lamar." That's what was supposed to happen. But then Kendrick Lamar got on stage. He performed all of Section 80, and then he closed out the set by performing his "I Am" interlude off of his Kendrick Lamar EP, and I knew it word for word. And he saw me spitting that verse with him as he was performing it. And mind you, this is still early in Kendrick Lamar's career, and so I'm pretty sure he wasn't expecting there to be a young kid all the way across the coast, like from he's coming from the West Coast all the way over in Tallahassee, Florida, right? I'm sure he wasn't expecting a young kid to know that specific song word for word, because it's more like spoken word and like an interlude than like a popular song or anything like that. And so I think when he saw me, he really wanted to acknowledge that, which is why he walked off stage, grabbed a pair of Beats headphones, and then handed them to me personally. And I said it in one of my old songs from my Stream of Conscious series. I was like, thought he passed the torch, but they were only beats. Shit, that's enough for me, right? And so, yeah, it's one could easily recognize and say that, yeah, Kendrick Lamar was a catalyst to my career. Um, really helped me to take the leap of faith in myself. Um, and I really like that story because it's a testament to what I also strive to do as an artist as well, right? Like, spark the flame of another's torch that allows them to persevere and push forward in some way, shape, form, or fashion, right? And the way that these torches get lit looks different for everyone, right? Like, a song could, transform somebody's life and inspire them to become a better doctor or a better husband or a better son or a better mother or a better friend or a better lover or a better, librarian, right? It doesn't always translate one to one. It's like, oh, this song makes me want to be a music artist, or this rap verse makes me want to be a rapper, right? Like, sometimes, yeah, that does happen. It's natural for those things to happen. But I'm holding out. Nah, I don't even have to hold it out. Like, I truly believe, like, there's inspiration and there's a catalyst within sharing our work as music artists and as creatives that can inspire others to be the best at what they do, regardless of what field they're in, and encourage them to persist in the face of all of that. And so I brought all of that up to say, like, this verse that I wrote, this endless seams, and the feelings that I started to accumulate within subsequently, right? Like, after writing this verse, um, and as I was moving into FF25 this year, it really inspires me. I'm going to, I'm going to win a Pulitzer Prize. I'm going to win a Pulitzer Prize. That's what I'm inspired to do now. Like, and this is one of those verses that feels like a testament to that vision. That's how I feel. So yeah, that's oops. That's that. I appreciate that, Weeda Sauce. Thank you for, following along while you're working. The thick thighs line. That's hilarious, yeah. Yeah, no, it was it's a whole thing, man. Like, I really that verse was just something to me. Like, I promise you, I was really moved by that. Thank you, Chloe. I definitely appreciate that. I'm moved by that sentiment. I really am. You said I should watch more Marvel. It was it's a subtle thing. Like whether you do or you don't, it's okay. Like that's one of the challenges that I like the thing. I don't know if I would say it's the challenge, but I'll say that there's a reason why certain artists work well for certain individuals, right? Like there's a reasonable overlap for some with their interests, right? Like their own personal interests versus what the artist is interested in their life or what they're pursuing and that kind of thing, right? And I think that in hip hop and rap, a lot of the times you hear a lot of like sports, you hear a lot of money, you hear a lot of cars, you hear a lot of watches and jewelry, you hear a lot of fashion. Nowadays, you're like starting to hear a small creep up in like anime references, but that's like very, very new. And I'm not gonna say it's new. I'm gonna say the adoption of it as something that is popular and notable to do, like that's relatively recent, you know? Um, but yeah, that's definitely something that I feel yeah, it's becoming more mainstream. Weeda sauce. Definitely becoming more mainstream. And it's something I've been doing for a while. I mean, what else could I reference? All the anime I'd be watching, But yeah, like and it's one of those things where you just have to accept that sometimes you'll make a reference that some won't get, and other times, oh, use that controller rise? Oh, that's crazy. Dang, I might have to pull up there sometime soon. Maybe I'll catch you. It's been a while since I've been to controller rise. I ain't gonna lie to you. Um, I was at a trap sushi event the other day, and they held their event at Monday Night Garage, which was pretty cool. It was actually the screening for Lazarus. I think yeah, that was the night of the 27th. And so Lazarus is an anime that was created by the same guy that made Cowboy Bebop. And for those that don't know anything about anime, that's a relatively popular anime and what's known as a classic nowadays. So yeah, but yeah, no, definitely I I absolutely appreciate that sentiment, Chloe, for sure. Now, now, now it's the journey to let everyone else recognize and understand and know that, right? And whether they do or they don't, it kind of makes me know never mind. But it's also kind of like that's one of those aspects of like rap and hip hop culture where it's like it's like the uniform that you have to adopt in order to participate in the game, right? Like the equipment and the uniform that you need to participate in hip hop is like a level of braggadocio, like to be like cocky, confident, like saying you're going to be the best, saying you're the number one, right? And like as superfluous or as like silly as it may seem or feel or be, right? Like it's just a part of the fabric of the culture of hip hop to be in that, right? And in a way, I truly appreciate it because it really does force one to see something so magnificent and something so much higher for themselves and in their own life than they might even feel capable of believing, right? But like you really have to impress it upon yourself, and then as you work towards it you start to see it a little more clearly, right? Like first it's off in the distance and it's super blurry, but it starts to gain a little bit of traction and it starts to gain a little bit of definition, and you can really find yourself emerging into a space where that confidence, that braggadocio is like really well seated, well rooted into, your visage is what I wanted to say, but I know that's a word that's not often used. So, um, but there it is. My word choice is always a little funny and out there and silly and complex. But yeah, no, I genuinely feel like inspired by my journey thus far as an artist and as a hip hopper. I was just listening to a mixtape that I dropped in 2015, and I have one that I dropped in 2013 too that I was gonna go and reflect on, and I'm just like, oh my god, some of that stuff was amazing. A lot of that stuff was, oh my god, like I had, ugh, like my goodness, like I have grown so much. I've grown so much from where I was when I wrote some of those verses. That's for damn sure. Yeah, we did sauce. I did. I wrote the song Lazarus. That was day 28. And that was absolutely because of me going to see Lazarus, the screening for the first episode at the Trap Sushi event that was co hosted by Adult Swim and Toonami. And I got a shirt that says Lazarus too. And it was just a bittersweet reality that I was also in the process of like grieving and like having to, it was like, it was a great uncle that recently passed, but it gave me an opportunity to reflect on that, right? And so it was just a very unique, serendipitous, coinciding moment of theme, naming convention, and, the reality of my situation and like what the name is rooted in and all of that. So it was really fascinating. How do I screen capture that? I need to screen capture that. Thank you, Chloe. I'm like, how do I screen capture that? I need a screenshot. I don't know what to do. I appreciate that for sure. Yeah. I am doing my due diligence to continue showing up. Yeah. And today is absolutely a testament to that as well. I was like, not necessarily feeling it. Like not that I wasn't feeling it. It was more like I was busy doing other things earlier today, working on an obituary and a program, then working on a client project and then waiting for, a word back from them. And I was just like, well, I could just relax for the rest of the evening. Or I could just work in silence and like not bring anybody into the whole Notion thing because I don't know if that's something that people want to watch. And I was just like, no, get out of your own head, hit live, and then just get to whatever, you know, happens. Get to the moment, get out of your own way. And that's just one of those things that, sometimes we have to remind ourselves of that on the daily. And it's so much easier. Like, once you're in it, like, once you're in the moment, it's like, oh, like, I could do this all day. Like, it's really just that friction that we have to let go of, and that the friction of fear. And that fear is often, sometimes not even your own voice. It's just the weight of the world and the perspective of others. Thank you very much for your condolences. I appreciate that. Grief is love looking for a home. That's sweet. I appreciate that. I almost did the same thing before I streamed today. Oh, word Weeder sauce? Like, yeah, right? Like, it's one of them things. Like, you just kind of have to, like, get out of your own way about it. Like, genuinely. Like, no, stop, shut up, stop talking. Like, stop thinking, stop falling into that pattern of thought that's not serving you. Just hit the record button or hit the stream button, right? Just get in there. You was gonna be at your computer anyway, or you was gonna be sitting down doing something anyway. Just get in there, stream, get it, do what you got to do. Um, yeah, and I'm grateful that I did that today. And I think one of the biggest challenges for me, over this live streaming experience is going to be the repetition, right? Um, I think February Flows was super easy for me because like not just that I was able to be in like a unique creative flow every single day, but more so that each of those days I had something a bit different to show you all. And I don't know what it is about like I've heard other artists struggle with this as well, where it's like, oh well, I told them once already, so I don't have to say it again, or like I think they got the message the first time, like, or oh well, I played that song for them once already. I don't know if they want to hear that again. Like I have to do something completely different this next time around. Like no, like I really like I have to get that voice out of my head too. Like if it called for it, like I really need to be ready and willing to just show up here like this every single day and perform the same exact song. Like even if it was just one song, I have to have the willingness to show up and just perform that song on repeat every single day for an hour or two. That's the level of willingness and surrender that I need to have in order to show up for my music and my artistry. And I think that's been one of my biggest challenges, is that aspect of repetition, and kind of like drilling in the music or the message. Because sometimes I feel like, oh well, what if they get tired of it, or what if oh they'll just like, no, get that voice out of your head too. There's so much opportunity, to be someone's favorite song, or the song that motivated somebody to do something that day, or to spit that verse yet again and again and again and again until that one moment when somebody was like, wow, like I didn't even know that verse was in there, or that line or that bar was in there. I'm glad I stuck around and heard it this time, right? Like I'm seeing those moments in my mind's eye, and I am giving myself that grace and that opportunity to show up for myself in that way. And it's gonna be a challenge, right? Like I think February flows, yeah. Yeah, repetition is a good thing, thinking about how often you hit replay the same song or same verse, right? And naturally, I mean, I have enough music to give some, you know, diversity to the equation for sure, right? But it's more so about um, breaking the surface tension, right? Like, and it really does take a certain level of repetition to kind of break through the noise and to like become an addictive track for someone, right? Like how can someone be addictive to a track if they don't even really know the song that well, right? Like you have to give a lot of touch points for that music, and I have to recognize that myself and not shy away from giving people that opportunity. Um, and finding the right way to kind of approach that is going to be challenging with so much music, right? I have all of February flows, or forever flows 2025, all of the music that I just created over this past month. That was 28 brand new songs, right? That was a lot of music. And I still have 28 songs that are archived from February flows 2022 that I have not released. And I still have another 14 from Still Flowing 2021's February flows that I have still not released. And I still have another project called Reasons Beyond Me that is about, let's see, this one is 7 tracks long, 8 tracks long, that I have still not released, And I think all things in good time for sure. I think now is just like, okay, I do have to think about the rollout. I have to think about the repetition and warming up the audience and giving them that opportunity to ask for the music, right? Like I think that makes a big difference, because it's one thing to just kind of throw all the music out there and people be like, "Oh, well, they just got a bunch of stuff," and it turns into noise sometimes, like if you're not focused and intentional about, you know, drilling the point home about like, yo, this is the song. You got to check this one out. Like, have you heard this song? Well, hear it again. Oh, you heard it yesterday? Let's play it again. oh, you just heard it 10 minutes ago? We gonna run it back, you know? So like creating that level of repetition and appreciation for the music, I think that's gonna be my biggest challenge for sure. Because sometimes, like, I mean, I understand I kind of got ADHD a little bit too, or we'll say I have experienced ADHD tendencies every now and then, or something on the spectrum. Who knows? But I get how sometimes like why I might feel that way. But in the grand scheme of things and in the reality of the situation is that music should be infectious and it should be something that people want to hear again and again. And I can't rob people of that opportunity by being nervous of my own redundancy, right? Nervous and tired. Like, I'm not tired of my own voice. I wouldn't be doing this, I guess, if I was, but like sometimes tired of hearing my own music just because I'm like, oh well, I can still grow from here. This is not where I want to remain, right? Like so sometimes like I'll hear my music back and be like, oh, this is amazing. This is really good. Now how can I make something better than this? Right. So yeah, I just have to get out of those blockers, preventing me from sharing my music in such a repetitive way. Repetitive in a good term, right? Using that in a positive light when I say that, right? Creating strong repetition, creating a strong foothold, and an opportunity for people to really appreciate the music. Yeah, thank you for that, Chloe. And that's another aspect to it as well, right? Where it's like I should really honor that, right? Like as a lyricist, I wrote those songs to have that level of depth, right? That you can listen to it over and over again and find something new within it, right? I think sometimes I'm just too close to the music and the lyrics myself that I tend to forget. Not even like forget. It's more so of like because I'm so close to all of the things that I've written in the music, sometimes I'm not properly scaling their impact. Like I'll just feel like, okay, yeah, that was a cool bar. But like in reality, it's like, no, 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 no. That was profound. Like that was actually like that was stop the tape. Like, hold on. Like let's sit with that for a moment. Wow. Like you just said something there, right? And so I think that as the artist myself, sometimes I forget that that quality and that nature is there. And I do think it really does take, you know, patrons and external appreciators and community and fans and those who really appreciate doing that, right? To really bring that out of the music. Because for me, with it being so close to home and just like yeah, there are times I'll go back and reflect on it and I'm able to glean that. I'm able to see that. Um but more often than not, it's more so of just like, okay, cool. I wrote that. That was great. Cool. What else can I write? Okay, cool. Well, that was a moment, that was a feeling. And yeah, it was probably profound for the time. But for me right now and where I'm at, it's like, okay, I've received that lesson. How can I grow even more? Right. And so I think that's really what it is. It's more so of like, I think a really great analogy is um, say, for instance, you're taking a math class. And at one point, it was really profound and it was really amazing, right? That you learned 2 + 2 = 4, right? And you were like, oh, snap. I see how that came to be. And then, like, you're making these correlations, like, oh, well, 1 + 3 also equals 4. Oh, wow, that's amazing. But then you keep doing math and you're doing it for quite some time. And now you're doing like algebraic equations and calculus and those kinds of things, right? And then you start reflecting on like simple addition and those kinds of things. And you're like, yeah, okay. Like, yeah, so, right? But those things are still magic. They are freaking magic, right? And someone who is not uh doing that mathematics on the daily, right? They might stumble upon that math and be like, oh my goodness, 2 + 2 = 4, right? And it's a revelation for them. And that I should never rob somebody of, right? Yeah, that's how I feel. That's how I truly feel about it. Well, yeah, yeah. I absolutely talked more than Notion build, that's for sure. But it was good. I think that it was absolutely meaningful. Like I needed to be able to kind of unpack some of these thoughts today. Ideally, there's a clip in here somewhere, right? Um, Thank you, Chloe. Yeah, it's another great vote for repetition, for sure. The mathematics analogy really makes it make sense for me. Because even if somebody already knows 2 plus 2 equals 4, it's like, well, yeah, but 2 plus 2 equals 4 means the world when you're doing that math because somebody asks you, oh, how much do I owe you? You know, it's like, oh, now that math starts to make a lot more sense and it's a lot more valuable in that context than it would be otherwise. Like if you was just doing the math for math's sake. But I think that there are so many life lessons and so many gems that could be buried within my lyrics, within my lyricism. I wrote them to be that way, and I shouldn't neglect that or diminish the value in that by um, not recognizing the value of the repetition in it for others to carry those gems, to find them, to sit with them, to evolve and grow with them. But yeah, there's definitely some old verses of mine that's like, oh my goodness, this is terrible. Why would I say that? There's absolutely some of those things in there. Thank you for sharing as much as you did. I love the lyrics, so the breakdown of yours was mind bending in the best way. Thank you. I really appreciate that, Chloe. Yeah, I really enjoyed just kind of doing that verse breakdown for you all. Endless Seams is one of those ones that just jam packed with a bunch of gems in there. And I'm sure that there's a few other songs that I have that could also be unpacked in a really dope way. Thank you, Wheater Sauce. I appreciate that. Yeah. And so yeah, perhaps this is another approach to the live streams, right? Where I can do lyrical breakdowns of my music and kind of share that perspective. Um, Chloe, to your point, I do think that it would behoove me to get some of the songs that I am talking about as of lately onto your major distribution platforms like Spotify and Apple Music and all of that. That way, when people start stumbling on this content, they can actually access it from their favorite streaming platforms. So I'm definitely taking heed to that. Um, to get your music there, and we the sauce. Yeah. To get your music there, to get my music there, right? Like it's going to take another investment, which I'm willing to do, right? It's just more so about like, okay, now how do I make that feasible, right? Like in the grand scheme of things, right? Because life and living and the way the economy has been nowadays, right? So I've been thinking about, okay, how can I create that opportunity for sustainability within the music side of things, um, even if it's just creating that opportunity to have the music fund the releases. So that's something that I've absolutely been looking at, because yeah, I would like to properly get the music mixed and mastered, and maybe sit in the studio with an instrumentalist to just kind of tweak things or make sure that things are locked in the way that as best it can be. That's something that I would really appreciate doing with the music, really giving it the love that it deserves. Let us know how we can support you too. Thank you, Chloe. Yeah, I absolutely appreciate that. I used to have merch available for sale, but my website went down. That was I was paying like something like $870 a year to maintain my website with e-commerce and like all of the merch and stuff. And it was just so slow. And it was just too much all at once at the beginning, right? Like where I feel like I built out the infrastructure for my music career far earlier than the traffic, warranted. And I was attempting to maintain it, until the flow of traffic really started to pick up. But I think I was just kind of working that a little bit backwards. But yeah, I have some music that I want to put up for sale. And so maybe that is an opportunity of support. Um, so yeah. I would love to say like, oh, just go stream my stuff on Spotify and Apple Music and all of that, but in reality, it's like I do that for y'all. Like that's fractions of a penny on the dollar, and for somebody that's not making a million streams a year, it 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 doesn't really make a difference. Like I think I've maybe got paid $150, $200 maybe from music streaming across 8, 9, 10 years of having music on streaming platforms. 8 years, right? So yeah, it's one of those things where I have to put some other pieces in play for the monetization that I would absolutely appreciate people um Notion referrals. Oh, I appreciate that, Chloe. Yeah, to an extent, I should absolutely be doing that. Taking up some more client projects with Notion or something. That would at least provide a bit of cushion, financial cushion. As you know, though, I'm sure like you've experienced, like Notion projects can be absolutely demanding, like depending on how much you have to build out and the various pieces to the puzzle that you have to work through for your clients. So, yeah, I've really been racking my brain on that one because I was like just thinking about how slippery of a slope that is. There was a saying um, that just kind of stuck with me. And it was in the context of it was some podcast or one of those reels or something like that. The guy was like, do something for somebody once, they'll appreciate it. Do it for them a second time, they will anticipate it. Do it for them a third time, they'll expect it. Do it for them a fourth time, they'll feel entitled to it. Do something for them a fifth time, and they will be dependent on you to do that thing. And that is a critical component in relation to business and entrepreneurship. Because when you look at it that way, when you start to think about, okay, well, if I do this thing for this potential client and potentially other clients down the line, right? Will I be creating a level of dependency interlinking me to their business indefinitely, right? And I'm sure that there are ways to exit, right? And I think that that's something we have to consider at the onset, right? So that's been something I've been considering is like, okay, well, how do I approach Notion referrals or Notion business in a way that continues to give me the flexibility and autonomy that I would appreciate. Because, it is very possible to be so quickly wrapped up into someone else's business, right? Fractional COOs are often, you know, you know, attempted to be brought on as full-time employees and, even the depths that one would have to go through in order to build out a system for a company's operations that does require sometimes 2, 3, 4, 5 months worth of work, um, which is fine. But also, you know what I'm saying? Like in regards to like, okay, well, will I be able to balance that with also showing up for you all in this way, right? Like, will I be able to do all of that and continue to show up with for my music, for the live streams and all of those things? And so that's why I was thinking like, okay, well, it would also be nice if the templates made some grounds, right? Because templates are just a digital product that I can refine and then sell over time that are separate from like my de- it's a bit separate from creating as strong of a dependency, because you still create a little bit of dependency, right? People want follow up support. They're going to ask you questions about it and all of this stuff. But, it's just a different level, that it might be a bit more manageable. But as you also know, Chloe, selling templates nowadays is a bit of like it's rare that somebody is like getting to a point of like well enough traction to like really supplant themselves. Like, I'm not saying that it's impossible. It's definitely possible, but it's hard work. You got to put in basically full time to like really get the marketing behind it and all of that. We the sauce. You said that's what happened to you with web development. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? It's one of those things where it's like it's a slippery slope. You kind of, and it's in a way it can be a good thing, but only when you are locked in to like your true purpose, like the thing that it is that you want to do, right? And that's where, why I felt, a bit conflicted about all the things, because, I reflected on the graphic design work that I do. I reflected on the web design stuff I was doing. I reflected on the Notion related stuff. And all of those things turned into these slippery slopes that just ended up turning into a couple of years, you know, just kind of lost, right? Of me saying, like, oh, well, I'm doing this for the funding and, wanting to pour back into the music, and, you know, that just turning into me pouring into the software subscriptions that I needed to maintain those businesses, and pouring into just regular rent and utilities and all of those things, right, with not much actually pouring back into the music. Yeah, a bit throughout the years, but it was more of a time sink than one might have realized. Yeah, being a creator versus service provider is something I struggle with a lot. Yeah, yeah, Chloe, it's tough. Yeah, and I appreciate you picking up value from that insight. um, yeah, it's a tough battle, but like I feel so attuned, like internally, that like I get it now. Like I used to hear stories of like rappers or hip hoppers that are just like, yeah, like I slept on the homie's couch for like 2 summers, 3 summers, and until we just made it work. Like I used to be like, man, like they probably didn't have to do that, but they had the willingness to do that because they understood it was this or nothing else, right? And like that level of dedication to seeing their dreams fulfilled, and not just that, but living in alignment with what would be their purpose, is something that I can really admire. And it's challenging for sure. Like I would hate to have to be in that situation, but I would love to be in that situation for this thing that I love, right? Like if it came down to that. But ideally, it doesn't have to come down to that, right? Like, I'll figure out a way. Hopefully, I can really find some semblance of balance between the ways that I'm showing up for the music and my Wildenfree brand, and the ways that I'm connecting with you all here, alongside of a few client projects or something like that that I could hopefully make manageable, right? And so, yeah, Chloe, alignment matters. It takes a level of discipline to stay true to your path. Yeah, thank you for that. No, I appreciate that for sure. Um, yeah, and so I say all that to say, yes, I do think I would take Notion clients or referrals. But I think it's more so of like, I like creating work boundaries, right? Proper work boundaries, and also creating enough of an incentive with the pricing model and, the work schedule, that it makes sense for me, right? And so, especially seeing like, shout out to Sarah Loretta, the Sarah Loretta, as she goes by on her socials, right? Like she we had conversations before, and like she really kind of enlightened me to that too, where it was just like, yeah, bare minimum for like a project. Like I'm charging my rent and all my utilities, right? Like for a single project, right? And I'm just like, oh, okay, that definitely opened my eyes to some things, right? And to be able to have that, like, okay, cool. Like if I'm gonna do this project, at the very least, it's getting these things accomplished for me. Now I can breathe with that, right? Like, okay, cool. Like it's meaningful for me to take the time to do these things to get these things covered. And then with all of the additional time, right? Like I can continue to build out and show up in this way for the live streams and for all of that. I think today is a good example of me doing my due diligence to show up across all the things because I set aside some time earlier to get some graphic design work done for a client. And then I also set aside some time to get some graphic design work done for personal matters, working on some things. And so, yeah, it's just about figuring out how to divide the time and create, like, I think, the real challenge. Oh, thank you, we the sauce. Uh, we the sauce says that's great advice. I appreciate that. Um, yeah, I think that, the challenge is often like with multidisciplinarians, right? Or people who are doing things where it's like the flow, like me being in a creative flow with music is a completely different like logistical dynamic and setup and system and like habitual flow state than it is for me to be in the flow state of doing graphic design. And the same could be said about web design, and the same could be said about Notion, right? And especially things like Chloe, I'm sure you understand, right? When you're in Notion, like there are so many like nuances to like the logistical depths and the logical like steps and connections that you have to keep in mind, or that, you know, the closer you are to it and the more time you spend with it, the easier those things are to see. But as soon as you step away from them, it's just like, oh shoot, like where was I? What was I doing? What is this piece here for? Why is it? And so as a multidisciplinarian, doing these different things and switch tasking on the day to day, I think that's what creates a lot of challenge, because it's not like my efforts are compounded on top of one another for every single thing that I'm doing, right? And so that's something that I've been thinking a lot more about over like this past year, and why I was like, okay, cool. Like if I'm gonna do this Notion thing, I really want to at least approach it from the perspective of like, okay, um, as a music creative, right? Like let me build out a system for myself as a music creative because that's what I originally found Notion for myself. And I ended up detouring so heavily that I became a certified Notion consultant, right? But I'm like, let me return back to the purpose of why I started using this tool in the first place. I wanted to build a good music operating system for myself that could potentially, yeah, like I can turn this into something that can generate revenue to help other independent music artists, labels, A&Rs, music managers, right? Like those who are venturing on this path on their own, right? And so it just kind of turned into this really long detour. But, at the very least, what I was doing was taking these seemingly separate worlds and finding a way to merge them, right? Like saying, okay, cool. Well, I had started doing graphic design in college, or yeah, actually, it was high school, but, you know, I started merging my graphic design skills with, oh, I need like visuals for my music, right? Or, I need a flyer or a cover art or whatever it is, right? Like merging the talents and the skill sets and trying to focus their direction on a unified front and with a direct focus. And I think that sometimes it's very easy to fall into segmenting and separating and splitting things off into um, divergent chunks that kind of what do they do? They like they leave you too dispersed, right? Like it turns a very sharp focus into a blunt approach, like a blunt hammering across multiple things. And it does take precision and a sharp point to break through in the creative space, for sure. Like you got to be locked in as a creative, and people have to see that too, right? Like people, it's sad to say, but like people don't, you know, it's hard for people to keep attention on artists, or you know, like we have to like keep ourselves top of mind. Like we have to be the ones to take that seriously, and only then, you know, like yeah. So, mm-hmm. Yeah, that's all the things, I suppose. But yeah, now real talk. I definitely appreciate y'all. Thanks once again. It's about what 10:46. I think I did pretty good because I wanted to just stream for like an hour, but I went for 2 hours and about 15 minutes. So I think that's really good. For those that are tuned in that have not been talking, peace and blessings to you. How you doing? I go by Mr. Wildenfree. I'm a lyrical performing music artist and hip hopper out of ATL. Just recently got done with a creative sprint I referred to as FF25, which is Forever Flows, February Flows 2025. And yeah, there's a playlist on my YouTube channel called FF25 where you can go back and review this creative sprint. And I created a brand new song every single day for the month of February. So you'll have an opportunity to see the performance recordings for all of those. And if you really want access to the early draft of the project, I have the audio only version of those performance recordings available on my Untitled, which is a music streaming platform. I have all of those available, and you can get that special link if you join the Discord. So if that sounds like something you would be interested in, definitely check that out. Go to the YouTube go to my YouTube channel, click on that FF25 playlist, just let it play out, rock out to some songs, like and comment the ones that you really like and appreciate. And if you really like what you're hearing, you know, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you want to join the conversation, pop in with some others who are catching wind of this wild and free world that I'm weaving, then absolutely join the Discord. Thank you, Chloe. I appreciate you. I'm glad you caught the live too. Thank you for, yeah, just showing up. You know, you've continued to show up over the course of these live streams that I've done over the last month or so. So I definitely appreciate you for being here, and thank you for receiving the wisdom. And I hope you have a great rest of your evening as well. That goes for you too, We the Sauce. Thank you. Peace and blessings, bro. Thank you to those who popped in on Instagram, and some commentary that I apparently missed, but big love to you all the same. And yeah, that's that on that. Had a great day today. And yeah, until next time, y'all, I'll pop in again sometime soon. Depending on how things go, I might do another live before the end of the week. If not, it will be next week because I do have a funeral and some traveling that I have to take care of by Thursday evening. But yeah, at the very least, I'll be back home by Monday of next week, and then I can likely start live streaming again once all of that is over. But yeah, if anything, I will see you all before the end of the week. If not, sometime next week, I'll be right back here doing these live streams again. So yeah, I'll keep y'all posted. Peace and blessings, y'all. Till next time.